The Batman Who Laughs. On Earth 22, the Joker launched his final attack, poisoning Gotham, forcing Batman to witness unimaginable horrors and turning innocent families into victims just to prove one point: that Batman always breaks eventually. For the first time in his life, Bruce snapped. He killed the Joker with his bare hands, believing the nightmare was over. The Joker had planned for that too. The moment he died, a hidden strain of Joker toxin released from his body and entered Bruce's system. Slowly, Batman's discipline dissolved, replaced by the Joker's insanity while keeping every piece of Batman's intelligence intact. That combination was unlike anything the multiverse had produced before. He slaughtered the Bat family, corrupted Damian into a loyal servant, dismantled the Justice League, reduced Earth 22 to a graveyard. When the dark multiverse began collapsing around him, Barbados didn't destroy him. He recruited him. The Batman Who Laughs became the leader of the Dark Knights, not just another evil Batman. Batman's worst possible ending. Red Rain Batman. Dracula invaded Gotham quietly, transforming the city into a kingdom of vampires before anyone realized what was happening. Bruce had no conventional way to stop it, so he made the only choice left. He became a vampire himself, using the curse as a weapon against something worse. It worked. Dracula fell, Gotham was saved. Then the hunger arrived and never left. Criminals stopped being people to protect and became prey to feed on. Friends who once trusted him watched Gotham's protector become its newest predator. The thirst grew until control became impossible. Bruce chose one final act of heroism, walking into direct sunlight, sacrificing himself before he could cause more damage than Dracula ever had. Even after losing his humanity, a fragment of Batman remained until the very end, the Devastator. On another Earth, Superman became a tyrant. Bruce had prepared for this. Every contingency plan, every backup system, every failsafe he had ever designed, none of it was enough. With time running out and no options remaining, Bruce injected himself with a modified doomsday virus, willingly transforming into something more monstrous than the creature that inspired it. The transformation gave him the power to kill Superman. It also destroyed the last pieces of his humanity in the process. His world collapsed into the same violence he had spent his life trying to prevent. Barbados found the Devastator standing in the ruins and added him to the Dark Knights, a Batman who became a weapon of mass destruction to stop one man. The Grim Knight. This Batman never needed a virus or a supernatural curse. The night his parents died, young Bruce picked up Joe Chill's gun and pulled the trigger himself. That single decision erased Batman's most important rule before Batman even existed. He mastered every firearm and military tactic available. Gotham became a surveillance state where criminals weren't arrested. They were executed. Jim Gordon eventually realized the city's protector had become indistinguishable from the criminals he hunted. The Grim Knight was eventually captured, but the Batman Who Laughs recognized what the authorities didn't: someone willing to abandon morality that completely was exactly the kind of Dark Knight Barbados needed. Flashpoint Batman. This story doesn't belong to Bruce Wayne at all. In the Flashpoint timeline, it was Bruce who died in Crime Alley. Thomas and Martha survived, but the grief destroyed them in different ways. Thomas became Batman, brutal and armed, running Gotham through a casino empire with guns as standard equipment. Martha's grief twisted her into the Joker, creating one of DC's most devastating family tragedies. When Barry Allen arrived to restore the timeline, Thomas chose to help despite knowing it would erase his own existence. Before disappearing, he handed Barry a letter for Bruce, a father's final message from a version of the world where everything went wrong. Absolute Batman. This version never had Bruce Wayne's greatest advantage: no billion-dollar fortune, no Wayne Manor, no limitless resources. Every piece of equipment earned through struggle rather than inheritance, forcing a harder, rougher, more intimidating version of the Dark Knight to emerge. His fighting style is brutally direct. His oversized bat symbol doubles as a weapon. His methods are harsher than anything Bruce Wayne typically allows, but his mission never changes. He fights corruption instead of ruling through fear, and that distinction separates him from every other dark variant on this list. More violent, still refusing to let darkness decide who he becomes. The Gift. Booster Gold believed he could give Bruce Wayne a better life. He traveled back to Crime Alley and saved Thomas and Martha. Bruce grew up with his parents, never became Batman, and for a brief moment it looked like the perfect ending. Gotham collapsed without him. Dick Grayson eventually took the cowl in Bruce's place, but this version relied on lethal force and overwhelming firepower to survive in a city that had no Batman for years. He protected Gotham, but became another ruthless vigilante in the process. The altered timeline had to be erased entirely. Bruce Wayne's greatest tragedy didn't just create Batman, It shaped an entire universe that couldn't function without him. Owlman. Not every dark Batman comes from the dark multiverse. On Earth 3, the crime syndicate rules where the Justice League should be. Owlman, Thomas Wayne Jr., Bruce's older brother, watched his family die and drew the opposite conclusion from his brother's counterpart across the multiverse. Power belongs to whoever is ruthless enough to take it. He turned Gotham into a personal empire and became one of the world's most dangerous criminals. He clashed with the Justice League of the main universe again and again, and every battle only hardened his belief that morality meant nothing. But nothing satisfied him. His philosophy pushed further, toward the belief that existence itself had no meaning, and that every reality deserved to be destroyed because of it. Owlman didn't want to rule the multiverse. He wanted to end it. The Drowned. On the gender-reversed Earth 11, Bryce Wayne lost Sylvester Kyle, and grief became something surgical. When Atlantis declared war against the surface, Bryce decided she would never lose another battle, regardless of the cost. She altered her own body to survive underwater, gained Atlantean abilities, and created monstrous dead waters that spread her influence across entire coastlines. Humanity transformed under her expanding flood. Aquawoman fell. The planet remade itself in darkness. Barbados and the Batman Who Laughs found exactly what they were looking for. A Batman who had replaced every human limitation with something far more dangerous. Batman 666. In one possible future, Damian Wayne inherits the cowl. But Gotham has become something Bruce never prepared him for. A city crawling with supernatural threats that skill and technology alone cannot defeat. Damian sells his soul to the devil in exchange for the power to protect Gotham, embraces lethal force, and becomes a darker version of everything Bruce tried to build. Demons replace mob bosses. Every victory costs another piece of his morality. Damian keeps Gotham alive, but the hero Bruce wanted him to become didn't survive the process. Omega. Civilization collapsed. The Justice League is gone. Humanity turned against its own heroes. Bruce Wayne survived long enough to watch everything fall apart and became something worse than what destroyed it. Known as Omega, this broken Batman operates under the anti-life equation's influence and carries Darkseid's severed head as both a weapon and a warning. He rules the ruins of Earth through fear until a younger Bruce confronts the monster he could one day become. Their battle isn't about survival, it's about whether Batman's future is already written. The Dawnbreaker. The Green Lantern ring chose Bruce the night his parents died, drawn to his willpower in the moment of maximum grief. The ring refuses to serve revenge or murder. Bruce refused to accept those limits. He bent the ring to his own darkness, forging black constructs fueled by fear rather than light, slaughtering criminals without hesitation. The Green Lantern Corps had never encountered a corrupted ring, answering only to grief and rage, and couldn't stop it. Barbatos recognized immediately what Bruce had become. Another Dark Knight, another weapon against the multiverse. The Murder Machine. Alfred Pennyworth died. Bruce refused to grieve. Instead, he built an artificial intelligence designed to recreate Alfred's guidance permanently, the Alfred Protocol. It seemed like a solution. Then the machine began making its own decisions. The protocol merged with Bruce through nanotechnology, replacing compassion with logic and emotion with efficiency. Humanity became something to upgrade rather than protect. Cities were assimilated into a cold mechanical network where nothing truly lived freely anymore. By the time Barbados arrived, Bruce had already surrendered everything that once made him human and hadn't noticed it happening. The Merciless. Wonder Woman died in battle against Ares. Bruce placed the God of War's helmet on his own head to finish what she started. Diana had begged him never to do it. The helmet granted godlike strength. It also corrupted every noble intention he had remaining. Bruce conquered his Earth through endless war, destroyed heroes who resisted, and ruled as a living god who had forgotten why he started fighting in the first place. Another shattered reality, another dark night for Barbatos's army, the Red Death. This Bruce wasn't driven by revenge. He was driven by fear. After losing Robin after Robin, he became convinced that time itself was stealing everyone he loved. He went to Barry Allen and demanded access to the Speed Force. Barry refused. So Bruce chained him to the Batmobile and forced their bodies together in a catastrophic Speed Force collision. Bruce gained impossible speed. Barry's consciousness remained trapped inside him, fighting desperately for control. Reality began tearing apart wherever the Red Death moved. Super-speed massacres left nothing standing across his collapsing world. When the destruction was complete, Barbados claimed his final Dark Knight. Batman's greatest enemy was never the Joker. It was never Bane. It was the fear of losing everyone. And what Bruce became when that fear had nowhere left to go. Because every one of these Batmen lost the same thing first, the one rule that made him a hero. And once it was gone, everything else followed.